Hey guys, this is ITV, and I wanted to come and talk about my feelings for the new season of Disventure Camp, season one of Disventure Camp. So, I watched the previous series, Adventure Camp. So, just a warning, I will be talking about and comparing and contrasting things from that. So if you want to go watch that, go ahead and do that now. So my biggest thing is I like the season so far. Um, just everything about it, like the hosts are so dynamic because it's kind of really easy to see their different contrasts and everything. And I think that overall they make a good duo. And I do like that they got rid of Jared, I think was his name in the original, who was the host, because that was kind of crazy with the whole Chris plot. Yeah. So if you didn't watch, really quickly, the old Adventure Camp or Total Drama Adventure before it was canceled was basically supposed to be the season where Chris had went missing and this guy named Jared was taking on the host job of the show. And yeah, crazy things went down. Chef got involved, and Chris was there. But overall, yeah, crazy season. I will say though, my biggest gripe so far with this Venture Camp season one has to be kind of the name, because in the first episode of this Venture Camp season two, it is stated they had to change the name for legal purposes, showing that it wasn't Disventure Camp. So I'm just wondering who forgot that. It's not my biggest gripe. It's not that big of a deal, but it's kind of concerning. So another thing I like is that they added new characters from the old ones, because um back in Adventure Camp it was only 12 people, and for some reason there was more girls than guys, like a huge overhaul of girls compared to guys. But yeah, so most of the characters here are pretty enjoyable, and for the most part all of the returning characters from this point seem to have character traits like from their original season. If I was to say anything, the new characters Drew and Alec, while nice, I think Alec has left more of an impression on me than Drew, because Drew can't talk, but also it's just kind of like, are you gonna say anything? You're gonna do anything? But the same can be said for Dan. Now, in the original series, Dan didn't do much either, so I'm not complaining. I'm not being really specific on that, but I hope they can bring out their characters more in the next episode. I will say though, Gabby in this season, I'm not gonna push and pull and say it's really specifically, but she seems to be really pushing it to the max with her annoying level. Like, she didn't bother me in the original Adventure Camp, but I could definitely not say the same for this Adventure Camp, which is kind of a problem for me because, under the spoiler for Adventure Camp, Gabby tries to get with Ellie, so I feel like for them to have that relationship, we don't want to kind of really pull that Gabby is, this person we shouldn't like, or this person who's kind of unwatchable, and that people would want to vote out first. I mean, we've had characters that are nuanced, and they'll make it further than what you think they'll make it, but most of the time they have more depth to their character. So that's really what I'm hoping for. And so far, I'd say if I was to name my favorite team, I don't know, It's kind of hard. It's like, because both teams are likable, but I don't know. Another thing is Will and Ashley are getting a little more character, and I see a couple of people thinking that they'll be a ship or a relationship. So if that happens, that would be cool and another way to drive away from what happened in Adventure Camp. Because one of my biggest things that I want in this season is that there's a major difference. I mean, because I wouldn't want to watch the same season over again, just done better and with more characters. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I'd rather we go ahead and go to the All-Star season. I mean, the third season. So, that's my biggest thing. But, if I was gonna say another thing, I feel like for the most part, just about every single character has the same. It's not the exact same, but just about the same dialogue from the first episode of Adventure Camp. Like Fiora, her same lie of, her her family being poor and her having to come to production. The only difference is she doesn't get in a confessional right away and says that it's a lie. So I feel like they almost try to draw it out that she's not a villain yet, which is good. It's good. Fiore will definitely be a villain. And if I was to say anything else, it is weird that they put Gabby and Fiore on different teams from the original at the beginning. And that's one of the biggest things I noticed. But I also liked it because, it gave us a difference. I mean, they don't keep this difference, but it does make a difference. And if I was to say at this point, probably like my least favorite character in this cast, at this point probably Gabby, yeah, because I feel like I don't know, if she could just pull it together. I'm not saying she has to mellow down completely, but just calm her down a little bit, because like they almost take up the whole episode trying to show how annoying she is. And, she's a deeper character than that. I know she is, because she was. So, that's my biggest thing. Another thing is, it's a big hope of mine that we don't have the same finalists from Adventure Camp 2. Because if we do, that will be kind of really, disappointing to me. If I was to predict who was going to be a finalist, though, I'm definitely putting my hopes out there for Greg. If anyone notices, in the finales of Disventure Camp and Adventure Camp, they have the antagonist in the final slot and someone who is a flawed character, not a perfect character. But either way, it's sort of like people that really you don't want to root for. But if push came to shove, and you had to pick someone, you'd pick the sort of flawed character. I mean, for me, because the villains in both Adventure Camp and Disventure Camp, Rhea and Fiore is, she's kind of a little over the top in Adventure Camp, so I hope that she can maybe not be so, insane and just be kind of more strategic. Because, it's almost like if you had a little cousin come over and they just was completely disrespecting you, you're not going to really take that, nicely. But, that was just my thought process. So if I say anyone to be in the finale, I'm hoping that they make Gret the, main villain this season. And if that happens, I want her to be in the finale because Gret has a lot going on. She has a good personality. For me, I'm just on the thought process of when she said she's one of the only characters who has any brains on her team in any regular sense, which is kind of true because just about everyone on Gret's team, on the teal team, they're kind of at normal. Like, the only real normal people on that team is probably Jake and Dan. And another thing is, those two haven't done anything yet. Like, Jake only has a few lines, doing a few things. And I think that's one of my biggest problems with the first episode, probably, is that we don't really get a, sense of some of the characteristics of some of these people. Like, Dan and Jane would probably be my main two I didn't get really a feel for. I mean, I know how they act in, Adventure Camp. And honestly, Jake kind of acts like Aiden from season 2 of Disventure Camp. So, if I was to say anything, I'm not asking for them to keep the characteristics of the characters the same, but I don't want them to be completely different. Kind of like evolve the character. Because at this point in the game, it's kind of a chance to rewrite anyone, because barely anyone has watched Adventure Camp from what I've heard. So yeah. If I was to say my favorite character on the purple team this far is probably Alec, because he seems to be really smart and like a sarcastic guy, and I can see him becoming like a villain or someone who helps out Fiore, which would be a different thing. I don't think he can win just yet, but I definitely see him making merge. And if not, he's getting out really late pre-merge because of the fact that he could be a threat. And another thing is, with this new season being a remake, I kind of don't want the same merge cast or group. Like, I'm not saying that most of those people didn't deserve merge, just some of those people did. Like, Lil and Nick, both of them don't need to make merge. Miriam doesn't need to make merge. But everyone else can stay. I feel like Alec, Ashley, or Will, and possibly Drew making merge would be really nice. Maybe Dan. Maybe. And possibly Gabby. A big thing I'm also interested in is the challenges so far. And the challenges are pretty, like, as of this point, unique. And that's something we need, because a kind of hints of things going on in this Disventure Camp is when they didn't really know how to do a challenge, they kind of like revamped the challenge from Total Drama Island. Total Drama. And, if this was Total Drama, that would be okay. And I'm not hating on the challenges, but I feel like, an important thing is we want to separate from Total Drama, period. So I feel like if we can pull more challenges from like Survivor, like how the new Total Drama did, that would be a lot better. And can I quickly say that they handled Tom really well. Tom was, in the original season, they kind of blatantly put out there that Tom was on the season and he had to cover himself up, because if he showed himself, he'd be in trouble. So he was trying to keep his identity safe. But I like that they tried to just change the plot to be about his skin and him having sensitive skin, because I feel like we don't want to do the same thing, because I always thought that was a dumb thing, and I'd rather him lie about it than him say it, because it doesn't make sense. And I feel like because of that, it makes him mysterious and a more interesting character than this guy who's kind of like a weird spy on there and it's like a waste. It almost felt like a wasted slide in the original season, but now it feels better. If I was to say any characters that improved thus far, it would probably be Tom, because everyone else hasn't done anything major yet. Miriam is still like her old self, but I gotta say, I do enjoy this voice actor that's playing Miriam. We're only talking about the English one. I haven't seen the Spanish audio yet, and I don't know if I will, but I enjoy her, especially because in the first episode of Adventure Camp, or Total Drama Adventure, when they had the English audio, Miriam had this very unique voice, and I was, kind of taken aback to it. But this new voice actor for her is doing really good. Miriam overall is just about the same, but I did notice, instead of her, not trying to be on this show, she watches shows like this. So that's a nice little nuance of her character, of technically she wants to be here, and technically, she wants to do this game instead of her just wanting to get out immediately. That just still doesn't stop her from being annoyed from all of the youth and their stuff. But I enjoy that. I think that makes her a better character. It doesn't make her feel like a wasted space, because that's a really important thing, I feel like. And that was my biggest problem with Yule last season, is that he kind of felt like wasted space almost, because I feel like if you don't want to get the money, then what's the point of you being on the game? But we don't have that problem, at least this far. Also, I like how they gave Nick more of a backstory and more character, because, he felt like a rich guy in the original season. Like, just a generic rich guy who fell for this girl. But it's a little, they're trying to give him more character, and I appreciate that. As for Lil, well, she seems to be fine. I don't have a problem with her. I did think it was interesting that out of everyone, she was thinking strategic and decided to try and form an alliance, which is almost kind of shocking to me, because the only time I've ever seen someone off the bat form an alliance of 4 on a team in any season of Total Drama in Disventure Camp is when Yule did it. And I'm not saying that, that she couldn't have come up with this idea on her own, but I don't know, it almost begs the question, where would she get this idea to go ahead and do it right so early? Because even Heather waited till the second episode. And, Lil doesn't seem like she'd be as strategic as, as Yule. So out of that was very shocking. But otherwise, if I was to say anything else, this season looks promising. I don't think I have any problems with it so far. I love the dialogue fixes though. Like, everything flows so much better than it did when Adventure Camp came out, because there was so many points where the dialogue was so weird and just stunted. So I love it now. I love how they're giving more character and, better story to Fiore, Will, Ashley, Tom, and Miriam. The new voices sound great. Everything looks great. And I hope that it keeps getting better. And I don't know if it was just me, but I was kind of sensing people were shipping the hosts. So if Trevor and Derek end up together, I called it. But yeah, so thanks for watching this review. Also, that most wanted scene at the end was kind of crazy. I don't. I feel like they're trying to use that to explain the whole plot from original, the original series, instead of doing it on Chris. But we'll see what happens. But that's my review. Thanks for watching, and I will give more reviews to you soon. Thanks.